Hey.
Hey.
All right. Let me go ahead and get this thing going. Okay, so I thought there'd be a lot more to read, so I was pretty happy. It was only 21 pages of stuff. So, we've heard
A lot of
about
this?
2024 5.5e Dungeons and Dragons for over a year now. It's at least over a year. Um, because I know it kind of took some of the wind out of the sails of A5e because it was announced like right as A5e was coming out. And so everybody who was really excited about A5e was like, damn, maybe I could just wait for 2024. It'll be here any day now. Um, I'm excited to see in 2022 them releasing playtest material for 2024 product release. I was very excited to be a part of the the playtesting for 5th edition when it was back when it was D&D Next, and I'm excited that everybody has an opportunity now. The whole goddamn world has an opportunity to help playtest this material um, for, I guess, D&D 5.5. Marketing wise, what they're gonna do is instead of putting the 0.5 on there, they're gonna really go hard on this One D&D, and they will provide digital support for patching your older content into the newer system once it goes live. Um, they kind of did that in 4th edition. They didn't release. Hey, what's up, Burninghound? They didn't release a 4th edition or a 4.5. They did a 4th edition Essentials, which was a dumbing down, a streamlining, and an accessibility update to 4th edition that you could use side by side with the existing 4th edition stuff. It was basically like, here's a good example: playing the Mario Kart 8, right? If your friend wants to turn on Track Magnet, you kind of roll your eyes and you're like, baby, okay. But like, you don't tell your friend they can't turn on Track Magnet. You know what I'm saying? Like, let your friend use Track Magnet. Um, 4th edition Essentials was basically like very simplistic, very kind of dumbed down version of 4th edition that could be used side by side. So if you had your power gamers and your number crunchers, they could play with the core 4th edition stuff. But if you had your more casuals, they had options in Essentials essentially. So it actually, I thought, worked out pretty well. It didn't really matter though, because 4E was kind of doomed to fail. But for 5th edition, I definitely see the direction that they want this One D&D to go in. And before we even dive into this 20 pages of very, very cool UA, I'm gonna put it out there. They are doubling down. They are tripling down. They are stepping into the expectations that have been put onto them of being the friendliest, the most open, the most accessible, and the most like available tabletop rule set. This is not the Dungeons and Dragons tabletop game that you play if you want to crunch a ton of numbers. This is not going to be the D&D game that you play if you want to make the greatest min-max combination of all time. This is not what you play for your grim dark, for your deepest Warhammer fantasies. This is, I frequently argue that 5th edition rules can be used to run anything, any story could be run with 5th edition rules. The direction that they're taking 5th edition in for One D&D, it is going to become like everybody's tabletop. Like, that's the goal. It is to make a tabletop game that everybody can play. That's the goal. They are taking the thing that they do best, which is be accessible, and they're making themselves even more accessible. And I think that that's great because, for one, it's going to get even more people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and for two, all of the people that are always arguing, well, if you want to do this, you should try a different game, will finally have a strong argument. Because when this is done, the product at the end of this is going to be a very simplistic and very basic game. And that's okay. Because, like, life is really busy, people are really busy, and we've all got a lot on our plates. Not everybody's got time to digest super complicated rules. I think that embracing their simplicity and accessibility is like a smart move on their part. So I kind of read the document with that in mind, that, like, from a business standpoint, where are they trying to guide the game? Like, where do they want the game to go? And that's sort of like that's the story that was being told to me as I read the document. Now, again, I'm super old. I've been playing D&D since second edition, like 28, 29 years now of Dungeons & Dragons. Been playing a really long time. I've played through second edition, third edition, 3.5, the birth of Pathfinder, all of that Pathfinder stuff, fourth edition, 4E Essentials, World of Darkness, Rifts, GURPS, all that stuff. I've enjoyed all of it. I have some that I enjoy more than others. So it's fun to look at these choices and decisions and see what was borrowed from where. And again, just to see that the direction that the game is headed, and to see how the community has shaped the fifth age of Magic, as it were. So very, very cool stuff. All right. So right away, you see that we got the patron saints of 5th edition, Jeremy Crawford, and Chris Perkins. And then, and then Ray's over here. There is no sign of our 4th edition boy. He is gone. But his spirit, it lives on in some of these design choices. All right, so this is going to be coming out in 2024, 10 years after the official release of the Player's Handbook / 5th edition. If you were playtesting 5th edition, the playtesting period was about 2 years. So this is they're doing it again. They're trying to kind of repeat that success. They're changing the way a base character is made, and it's very Pathfinder 2. I mean, there's memes about it and everything else. Pathfinder 2 is a great game. It is a fantastic game. It is like the best parts of D&D and Pathfinder and 4th edition D&D, and they're all mushed together. It's really good stuff. Some Starfinders in there. Pathfinder 2 is fantastic. So if we're going to copy anybody, copy Pathfinder 2. Hell yes. I will never feel bad about anyone copying anything that Paizo does, because all Paizo does is copy things. So turnabout is fair play. But credit where credit's due. This is very, very startlingly similar to how you would make a character in Pathfinder 2. All right, so you got your character race, you got your background, and amongst that stuff, there is going to be languages, feats, and then they kind of throw some proposed rule changes here at the end of the document. All of this is playtesting material, but I'm going to put it out there. If you want, One D&D to be a quality product, this is your chance. You really should be playtesting this material. Even if you don't playtest all of it, you should be doing your part, and you should be filling out those surveys when they come out and making your voice heard. That is very important. This document that we're about to read exists because all of the feedback that they receive from the global community about their game, and that same feedback is going to control and influence the direction that One D&D goes in. So it is important that you guys are out there playtesting this material, that you are engaging in discourse about this material, and that when the opportunity comes to fill out those surveys, you are filling out those surveys. They are a big corporation, Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast Hasbro. They're going to look at data. They want that data. So if you want your voice to be heard, yelling about it on Reddit and Twitter, that's not going to get it done. You got to fill out the surveys. All right, so let's determine our origin. You choose a race, you choose a background, and you choose a language. I am a little disappointed. I was hoping that they would kind of crib from A5e's heritage system. I felt like the heritage system was a little um, complicated to design for and to design additional content for, and it was very setting specific. So I could understand why they're trying to pull away from that. Everything that's presented here has that one D&D flavor to it. That is to say, these rules are no longer bound to the Forgotten Realms. That is probably another reason they're pushing Planescape at the same time. They want to create the most vanilla, like plain cheese pizza Dungeons and Dragons possible as the core content. No longer are you held accountable for any of the cultural values, the pre-existing history and lore of any particular setting. They're saying these are the core elements of Dungeons and Dragons, and from here you can play Dungeons and Dragons. That's all they're saying. And I like that. I like that they're kind of scrubbing it down, and they're saying this is the basic bitch Dungeons and Dragons. This is one D&D. It's the basic bitch Dungeons and Dragons. All right. What happens now? Everybody gets a creature type. I was kind of hoping for dual type Pokemon. It's still early, but I understand that creature type, they've been kind of building towards this. So we have Fey playables now. We have Construct playables now with the auto gnomes. We got Ooze playables now. So there's monster playables. So that has become a thing in 5th edition. And now it's going to become a core thing right here, with everything is going to have a creature type. And I believe that creature type is going to play a little bit stronger into how they design. 4th edition was real horny about keywords. There were all sorts of keywords. And so feats triggered off of keywords, items triggered off of keywords, and class abilities triggered off of keywords. It was very abusable when you got good at min-maxing, which is how you ended up with Ice Rangers, which is one of the strongest builds in 4th edition. Stronger even than a Ice Wizard. The Ice Ranger was absolutely phenomenal. So I'm curious to see if creature type being a heavier focus is going to lead to keywords coming back. So we'll see how that goes. Character sizes, it's nice to see most of the races have a small size. Small versions of all things exist. I was kind of confused why there's no small dwarves and there's no small elves, etc., etc. So that was a little confusing. Hopefully they'll add that in officially, because why not? That didn't really make any sense. And then core value here is going to be speed, lifespan, species traits, special traits, and then you don't get stats anymore from race. Again, Starfinder started doing this with backgrounds, and then Pathfinder 2 leaned really heavy into it. They're completely removing stat modifiers from race altogether. They do not want anybody, when they build a character, to feel restricted by a racial choice. They want you to play the race that you think will be fun and flavorful and enjoyable to you. They don't want at any point for you to be like, well, I'm going to be a bard, so I guess I should choose a race that gets a +2 charisma modifier. They don't want that stuff to happen anymore. And they've moved away from that with the whole Tashas and things like that. But it's very interesting to me that in order to fix the issues with the backgrounds being all over the map, either throwaway useless or overpowered, like Outlander, or not respecting the existing power structure like Strixhaven and Spelljammer. So they're all over the map. So they did need to address backgrounds, and so rolling those stat modifiers into background is actually a pretty cool way to divorce stats from races. Now you can't be accused of being like, well, all dwarves are grumpy and stout, and all orcs are strong, and this and the other thing. Now you're not making physical and mental statements about races, which is, they're just trying to avoid any and all of that to be as welcoming and accessible as possible. If you are lazy player and you just want to show up and you don't want to make a custom background, there are going to be a whole shitload of backgrounds already designed for you. But none of them have like weird situational powers that are either very strong for certain campaigns or not strong. It's all just flavor describing a bundle of shit that you picked out. That's it. It's just a bundle of shit, and it could be very weak and it could be very strong, but it's completely up to you because you don't have to take a prefab one. You can make one up. So I thought that was very exciting and very cool. I'd like to see Dungeon Masters still respecting the background flavor a bit as far as giving out situational bonuses in play. But again, that's going to fall completely on how the Dungeon Master handles that sort of thing. Mechanically, though, a background is now a bundle of shit. It's like a bundle of shit that you get for your character. You can either design it yourself or you can just pick out a pre-made bundle. And then finally, you have your race, your background, and then I don't know why they threw language in there like it was super special. Maybe the new content they're designing will take language into account a little bit more. I know that if you look at the monster manual, like every other monster has the common tongue. So unless the DM is removing that, uh, you don't really need to know any language besides common. I like creating language barriers in the game because I feel like it adds an extra conflict that needs to be overcome, and it does reward players who take certain languages, so that is really fun. Um, so let's jump into these new races. All right, so we got human beings. You can be an adorable small folk, a little person. I think that's really cool. And they don't make a big deal about it. It's not like you get negative strength or any of these other problems. You're just small. That's it. You're small. So I thought that was kind of cool. They're still avoiding large races from what I could tell, which is it's all right. Maybe there'll be a feat that'll allow you to be big. I don't know. Maybe they'll have the courage to have a large race. We'll see. You got the basic speed of 30. You're a humanoid. You live 80 years on average. That's fine. And resourceful. You gain inspiration whenever you finish a long rest. Now, I got excited when I saw this because Giphy system is nuts about inspiration and earning inspiration and gaining inspiration, as is A5e. Both of those systems do that because not all dungeon masters feel comfortable handing out inspiration. Some of them they're just not wired to give out inspiration, right? They don't like giving out inspiration because they don't want to feel like they're picking favorites. They don't want to feel like they're bribing their players. They don't want to feel like they're being impartial with the handing out of inspiration. So a lot of tables actually don't use inspiration at all because the DM just doesn't want to be bothered with that shit. So having inspiration built into the mechanics of the game, it ensures a fair and equitable way to gain access to that resource, which is like what everybody's been doing that's been designing 5e adjacent content. So I saw that and I was like, shit, are they going to increase the amount of inspiration? Because just like Giphy, we use, you can have up to 3 inspiration. I was like, if every human being is getting inspiration just for waking up in the morning, they got to be giving out, like, there's got to be a bank of inspiration. Unfortunately, as you will find out later, that is not the case. A little disappointing on that. That's the feedback that I'm definitely going to be providing is they need to increase the amount of inspiration you can hold at any given time if they're going to be introducing all these mechanics that allow you to earn inspiration, especially during your resting periods. All right. Followed up with that is skillful. You gain proficiency in one skill of your choice. Dunzo. And then versatile, you gain a skill, the skilled feat, or another first level feat of your choice. And it's like, okay, I mean, I guess you're recommending the skilled feat for like a person that's in a hurry and just making a quick human character, or you're implying that a basic bitch commoner on the street is always going to have at least that skilled feat. That's 3 extra skills. That ain't bad. If every commoner's got training in essentially 4 skills just for being a human being, that's kind of cool. It kind of shows why humans would be such an industrious and prolific race. And then you think to yourself, oh man, it's basically variant human, but it's not because they have started to level tier and level lock feats. which they started doing in Strixhaven, and they do it. That's the entire system of Pathfinder 2. Every level you gain a new feat. Every single level you gain a new feat, and feats go all the way up. And much like 4th edition, you do cap out at a certain amount of feats, or in 4th edition it would be powers, and then you have to start dropping older powers to make room for newer powers. I'm curious if they're going to go that route, or if there's still going to be a bit of a gap between feat progression. We only get to see first level feats in this document. But that does mean that human beings essentially start the game with 4 skills, 2 more skills from their background. So that's 6 skills and 2 feats before ever choosing a class. Human beings have, they could potentially, if they take the skillful, they have 6 skills and a feat, or they have 3 skills and 2 feats. So humans are still very good, and a very strong choice. However, those first level feats being a bit dumbed down and a bit more curated is going to make the appeal of a bonus feat, I think, less than it used to be, which is the goal, right? If you look at our world doc that I have open on this other window, we did the same thing with humans. We limit what feats that they could take as their bonus feat. I think they just get Prodigy in our games, or they have this ability called Human Perseverance or Stubbornness or some shit like that, where they could re-roll a failed save if they want, which is kind of the same as getting an inspiration die if you think about it. So we're basically already here. Then they got, this came out of fucking nowhere, Ardlings. I saw Ardlings and I thought, oh, they're going to relabel the ASMR. But they're not. So the Ardlings are, it's a weird pull. It's a Planescape pull and a half, let me tell you. In the upper planes of Planescape, this is very exciting for me. I love Planescape. In the upper planes, there's the great wheel, right? And there's all these planes of existence. And the upper planes, there are these creatures called Gardenels, and Gardenels are furry angels. They are angels who are also furries, and so ASMR, who are descended from Gardenels, are basically like angel furries. They have animal heads, animal parts, but they're also ASMR. So these Ardlings are basically Gardenel ASMR. And what a weird fucking flex of a class, and what a weird thing to put in like the core rules. People thought that putting tieflings in the core rules in 4th edition was wild as fuck, but this is I think even crazier. They're also divided into 3 different groups, and then amongst the 3 different groups, they have multiple styles that you could choose, and vastly different spell access through their racial spells. It's very interesting. I kind of see what they're doing here. They're trying to repeat the success they had with tieflings, with something a bit more interesting than ASMR. I don't think there's a shortage of people that want to play ASMR, but as a DM and as a player, I think ASMR are just kind of boring. I'm just putting that out there. Hey, what's up, Dom?
Hey,
Hey,
how's it going?
pretty good. So with these Ardling, you could be a small boy, or you could be medium. So that was cool to see. They're really like controlling that flight. You get a bonus action to fly. It only fly at your speed, and you basically have to land or you're gonna fall. But with Dragoon rules, that's actually pretty spicy. Um,
There's also something pretty interesting about this is that when they talk about that, they stay based off your speed.
yeah, based off your speed. So use your
And
bonus action to start flying, right? And you could fly with the bonus action. So then you could fly with your movement, and then you could use a dash action. So even if you have a 30 speed, you just flew 90 feet in one turn.
Monk go whoosh.
but the funny thing is that since they're usually when they say stuff like this is you have this based off your walking speed. They didn't
Yeah.
mention walking, so and if you notice all the races they only say speed. So I'm wondering if they're changing.
Oh, if you
how
just
they're
have a
doing
unified speed stat, period,
Yeah,
and then you just change your locomotion. in the effort of keeping things as basic bitch and as simple as possible, I think that's probably correct. I think that's probably correct because no one likes doing any math that plays 5th edition D&D. And what's up, T-Pain? And right now, that comes up at higher levels. Like, they're like, well, if I stand up from prone, I have 120 feet of flying, and I have 50 feet of climbing, and I got 40 feet of burrowing, but I only have a 30 speed. So which speed am I using to stand up? And it's like, you're losing half of everything. And they're like, wait a minute. So it takes 15 points of normal walking to stand up, but 60 points of flying to stand up? And it's like, that's the rules. So yeah, I could definitely see them wanting to just say, this is your speed. The end.
Yeah.
Yeah, much better.
Let's see. And again, I don't know if you heard the beginning, Dom, but my take on this is they're doing everything they can to make 1D&D the most accessible, simplest, and beginner-friendly tabletop thing out there. They're gonna let Pathfinder 2, be crunchy and delicious and complicated, and they're gonna let all these other games do whatever they want to do, and they're going to double down on being simple and welcoming and accessible. Like that's what they're after.
When I read through the thing, I was like, these seem very good to play with somebody who's new to D&D.
Yeah, this is gonna be the most delicious plain cheese pizza of tabletop gaming systems that has ever existed, and you're gonna wash it down with some slightly flat Sprite. Like that's the flavor that 1D&D is going to have, and I don't think that's a problem because I think you can just like we do now, you take that very simple skeleton and you strap everything that you want on top of it, and that's what makes it so accessible.
1D&D is water, and you can just put whatever you want inside that water and make it flavorful as much as you want.
Exactly. Everything you drink has water in it, if you think about it, except the blood of your enemies. But I guess there's still water in blood, too.
There's water in there, too.
Yeah, all right. So this is a plain glass of water, no ice. That's what we're dealing with here. So every design decision is building towards being that plain glass of water, that plain cheese pizza, light sauce. So, okay. We go down here to these celestial lineages, and right away, they are not equal. They are not equal at all. Guidance and Healing Word are two of the best spells in the entire game. They're two of the best spells in the entire game. I guess if you're getting them from another class or background or something, okay, you could take something else. But, like, goddamn. Like, those are two of the best spells in the whole game. And all racial spells can be cast with any spell slots available from any of your other resources. Holy shit. Holy shit, that's good. Now, admittedly, Animal Messenger's kind of like whatevs. And then you go over here, and Light is very useful if you're playing with a strict DM on a virtual tabletop. Cure Wounds is very good. Not as good as Healing Word. And then you've got, up here, I don't even know. I mean, Thaumaturgy's fun. Lesser Restoration's fantastic. So it's like I can kind of see how each of the three legacies is kind of powerful in their own way, so it kind of feels balanced. But right up front is definitely getting Guidance and Healing Word. Plus, Bear, Dog, Raven, and Toad, that's like the best animals too. I don't know. I did think it was really neat, and I'm very excited to see these creatures in play, and maybe try to figure out why whatever campaign setting you're playing in, if it's not Planescape, like how are they accepted? Like how are these animal-headed? When I picture animal-headed beings that can fly and do magic, I am taken back to like ancient Egypt. You know what I'm saying? And their depiction of their gods. Like that's kind of the direction that my brain goes to without any art.
Makes me think of Stargate.
Stargate, yeah, which is heavily influenced by Egyptian mythology and stuff. Yeah. So, all right, these celestial legacies, basically, you get damage resistance to radiant, which is fantastic. I mean, it doesn't come up as much as like most resistances, but it's still good to have. And then you get access to these essentially racial spells. Long ago, it was like the Underdark races were kind of your best bet for getting spells, and then all the gnomes started to get racial spells, and now it feels like almost everybody's getting racial spells. So that's kind of cool. Here it gives you some advice on how Ardlings would be accepted into different worlds. And again, I think this is the cheese pizza, tall glass of water direction that they want to go. They want to be divorced from everything related to Forgotten Realms. They want people who are playing D&D to just be like, cool, I'm playing D&D. The end. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if they did a 4th edition and introduced a new campaign setting that was as basic bitch as the rule set. 4th edition had Nenter Vale, which was at the center of a campaign setting that didn't even have a name for the world. It was just called the Points of Light. And it was just a small continent, landlocked for the most part. And it just had a couple of settlements, and it had shit to do. And that was the entire campaign setting. I would not doubt that they go ahead and when they launch this product, they have some basic ass stuff. Is that what the Fandelver campaign is going to be? I don't know. But I feel like that's probably the direction they're going, especially with this whole such and such of many worlds. They're basically saying like these guys can be fit into any world. This is how they fit into some worlds, and I feel like there is going to be a one D&D setting that is as basic and unattached to anything that currently exists in lore as possible. That's just my call. We move on to Dragonborn. Dragonborn, they got to be happy for almost a whole year. I don't remember when Fizzbands came out, but Dragonborn, they started to turn a corner with Wildmount, and then they finally got good again, or maybe got good for the first time ever with Fizzbands, but now they're bad again. So I don't know what Dragonborn did to deserve this kind of treatment, but I hope everyone enjoys playing good Dragonborn for the next year and a half, because I guess the goal is to make them bad again.
What I'm wondering is, are they making changes to what extra attack is?
Maybe a lot. Some people are saying that the ripping off of Pathfinder 2 has only begun. That they are eyeballing that 3-action economy
I
hard.
hope they don't. Oh,
It's okay to chime in. We're doing a community chat. Like, here's the thing. In 4th edition, 4th edition is where they really kind of locked in that action economy. They said you've got a minor action, you've got an action, you got a move action, you got a reaction, right? Like that is it started in 3rd edition, but they really cemented like that action economy and clearly defining what each action could do. The problem is Merle's pushed real hard for minor actions, but they were like, we can't call them minor actions because we can't have anything in 5th edition that resembles 4th edition, Mike. You gotta stop doing this shit. And he's like, okay, what if we call them bonus actions? And they're like, okay, everyone likes bonuses. So then they threw bonus actions in there to represent the minor actions from 4th edition. Here's the problem. Nobody except Merle's was really making up anything to do with the bonus actions. Then everybody started making up stuff to do with the bonus actions to the point that they were like, God damn, I wish I could just use a regular action for a bonus action. And they're like, you can't do that. So that's why I think they are headed in the direction of multiple actions during a turn. And that is why Pathfinder 2 went in that direction, because of the debacle of 5th edition bonus actions. I like Rogue. I play Rogue. I get frustrated. I got a lot of good fucking bonus actions. A5e saw it was a problem. They gave Rogues a unique ability that they get to take 2 bonus actions in a round sometimes. That's how big of an issue the bonus action economy is in 5th edition. That's why I think we're moving towards a 3-action turn. For sure.
Sense.
Yeah.
Fizzben and Dragonborn. I mean, I think the reason why they reverted back to basic Dragonborns is simply because Fizzben itself is optional, you know?
Yeah.
All that is completely optional. They can't really bring what they did over back to
I
the
mean,
player's handbook, no
but they
matter
did it
what.
for orcs. They did it for orcs.
Well,
That's
they didn't just do it for orcs. They fixed orcs in multiverse, and then they mashed them together with half orcs and called it a day.
Yeah.
And that's another place where Pathfinder 2 is still doing it better. Pathfinder 2 is still doing it better because they have, I think they're called lineages or
they have all that stuff.
So
I
you
was
could
really
be a kobold tiefling. You could be you could combine essentially bloodlines with core races. So Aasimar is a bloodline, Tiefling's a bloodline. I want to say Orc might be a bloodline. I don't remember, but that's a really cool system. I hope they steal that too. Honestly, just steal everything from Pathfinder 2. Take everything good. Don't let them keep anything nice. Take it all. Steal all of their stuff, punch them in the stomach, leave them on the ground, dying so that they know how it felt during the 4th edition years. You know what I'm saying? Like, go for it. I fully endorse.
Don't bully Pathfinder.
Yeah,
It's too rough,
I
man.
fully endorse WotC just kicking sand all up in the face, the nose, the eyes, the butthole of Paizo. Sand everywhere. Take all their lunch money. Take their girlfriend, their boyfriend. Take it all. Take everything they have. Anyways, let's get back to this fine document. All right, so Dragonborn suck now. They're basically just the 2014 Player's Handbook Dragonborn. There's really nothing to say here. I do like that because they're divorcing themselves from the Forgotten Realms, we don't have to deal with this whole weird Warcraft orcs, Witcher 3. Our Dragonborn city was teleported from an alternate version of Faerun into Faerun, and we hate dragons because in our weird post-apocalyptic world, the dragons all went bad and enslaved us, and they could just do what all the players want to do, which is fuck dragons. So there you go. You could be a Dragonborn. You could love dragons. You could fuck dragons. Dragons for days. You have it. It's yours. That's your vanilla Dragonborn. There's really just nothing to say about the Dragonborn. So what I thought was interesting about dwarves is they got rid of all the subclasses for dwarves. They were like, look, everybody likes hit points. That's the real reason you're here. So all dwarves give you extra hit points. The end. That means you could take a tough dwarf at first level, have 3 more hit points than everybody else. What?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's some good shit. And that's another Pathfinder 2 thing. Kind of a nod. In Pathfinder 2, your starting hit die is influenced by your race and your class, which is kind of interesting. But your race actually plays a big role in like your starting HP. I don't like that part of Pathfinder 2, but it's kind of a nod to it where they're just saying, listen, dwarves are they're just that beefy. I do think it's kind of bullshit that the dwarves can't be small. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Are they worried that people are?
Man.
Is there worry that's going to be like, oh, but the gnomes are small. If we let the dwarves be small, then we have to let the gnomes be big, and you can't have gnomes be big because that'd be weird. So, like, I don't know. I think it's kind of bullshit. I think that the dwarves should be small. I think in like
why can't you have a short dwarf?
they're literally saying a dwarf can't have dwarfism. Yeah.
That's kind of weird, but okay.
Yeah. Anyways, let's see. They keep their dwarven resilience, which is fantastic. And let's see. They clearly delineate poison damage and poisoned condition, which is nice to see. I still think they should have switched out poison condition for a sickened condition, because then you could apply the sickened condition to people even if they're immune to poison, but still getting the same mechanical bennies there, or penalties, I guess. Stone cunning sticks around, and they actually try and make it a little more mechanical, I guess. So as a bonus action, you gain tremor sense. That's fucking good. Yeah. So stone cunning.
They got rid of. There's nothing in there about the old version of stone cunning.
Yeah.
It's just a new one.
Yeah. I think it's for the best. Yeah. As a DM, you really have to remember to let them use stone cunning, and they're nagging you about stone cunning all the time. And like, I don't know. This is another, again, we're trying to make a plain tall glass of water tabletop game right here, and they're definitely doing it because no one will ever ask you what stone cutting actually does. There's no question. This literally says you can get some tremor sense, and that's cool. I'm okay with that. Forge-wise, your divine creator gave you uncanny affinity for working with stone or metal. What does that mean? It just means that you get 2 extra tool proficiencies. The end. That's it. Let's move on. I think the dwarves are good. I don't think they actually need any subclasses.
I feel like I'll play one now.
Well, the subclasses were not different enough to warrant having the subclasses. That's the thing. And again, we're trying to make this as simple as possible. So why would we have a bunch of subclasses or subraces that are almost exactly the same? It's like, yeah, you're just doing it to honor the history of the game. Nobody likes the history of the game, it turns out. Sorry, SRD guys or whatever. OSR, OLGs, OGLs. I can't remember who you are, but the guys that want to keep playing second edition, you're gonna be real mad if you read this document. All right, so then we get to elves. Some people were like, elves got buffed finally. They needed it, and I didn't know if that was sarcasm or not because like I always felt that the elves were fine. But reading these changes, I kind of understand what they might have been saying. Elves were great in 2014. Elves are very middle of the road by the standards of the newer races that have been released and the newer elf sub-races that have been released. So I like they kind of rein it back in a little bit. They do hint with this whole shapeshifter origin that elves, the reason there's so many elves... I love that. The reason that there's so many elves is because they're so volatile and adaptable that no matter where they are, they become like the land. And I thought that was pretty smart. Because even Carciphona has their own special elves. Because every setting has special elves because they're highly adaptable. It's nice that they were able to bullshit a good lore reason for that. I dig it. And official lore, elves are highly adaptable and highly changeable. If you are blessed by Coralon, you can change your gender pretty much every time you wake up in the morning because everything about you is fluid and formless like Coralon. So this actually does support existing lore while kind of building new lore, which I thought was cool. And I like the whole Garden of Eden thing here, where they don't say that some elves done fucked up. They said all them elves got tempted by Lilith. And then some of them immediately repented, and then others did not. But they are saying that all the elves screwed up. So that's kind of a nice way to sort of take that racial tension and like dial it down a little bit. Like we all got kicked out of the Coralon's Garden of Eden, not just the Drow. So to hold a grudge against the Drow for that particular historic / theological act doesn't hold any weight anymore. So I thought that was kind of neat. So we go over here. Elves can't be small either, and that's bullshit. Tolkien elves sometimes are depicted as only being like 3.5 feet tall or something. Like Santa Claus elves, yeah, snow elves, they're super small. I'm pretty sure the elves in Norse mythology, the dark elves, I'm pretty sure they're very small. So I think it's bullshit there's no small elves, but you know, I'm sure they'll fix that. Elves get the dark vision, even if they don't live underground. You notice there's no like low light vision, half light vision. I'm kind of thinking that maybe I could see things, but I'm not sure. You either have dark vision or you don't have dark vision. The end seems to be the new design, and that's smart. Because nobody wants to calculate low light vision. Nobody gives a shit about that. All right, so we get to Elven lineage. Again, spellcasting and also an innate feature, which is kind of cool. So even better than the Egyptian angels or whatever, the Ardlings. Fey ancestry, you have an advantage saving throws to make against to avoid or end just the charmed condition. So that's a little bit of a nerf to Fey ancestry. It's not all charm effects and spells. It's just avoiding and ending the charmed condition. And then Keen Senses is back as a static racial feat because that is historically in the 50 plus years of D&D what elves are known for. And then the whole trance thing is still there, which is pretty cool. Oh,
Read
yeah.
the second part of that trance part, because it just says now that
You
long
don't
rest
need
for you
to
take
sleep.
4.
Yeah, and magic can't put you to sleep. You could finish the long rest in 4 hours if you
Yeah.
spend those hours in a trance-like meditation. So like a Warforged now, basically.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
just take 4 hours to take a long rest.
So then we've got Drow. Their big bonus is 120 feet of dark vision and the dancing light cantrip, followed by fairy fire, followed by darkness. Good pacing on those spells. And this goes off a character level, not multi-class, I'm assuming. And then you got high elf. They just give them prestidigitation, but this is neat. You can swap that out for any arcane cantrip. Now, a lot of people are like, Pathfinder 2, they have 3 different flavors of spells they copied. No.
Technically, it's 4.
No.
but
4th
no,
edition.
3rd edition.
4th edition had that shit first. 4th edition had clearly delineated. They had a fucking book called Primal Powers, and they had another book called Psychic Powers, and another book called Divine Powers, and another book called Arcane Powers, and then another book called Martial Powers. They had everything divided up into the different categories. It was already there. They didn't come up with anything. They don't come up with any original ideas over there. Don't say that anything was stolen. It was taken back. All right, anyways.
I have those books too.
They're good books. So yeah, I like the fact that they've divided spells and abilities, I'm assuming, into primal, arcane, and divine. So that's pretty cool. I am hopeful that we're moving closer and closer to a return to 4th edition design mechanics with that decision. So that's great for high elves that they can change out the spell. That's amazing. In 2014, being able to have a cantrip on your high elf was pretty dope. But nobody gives a shit about that anymore. So being able to swap it out, that's pretty cool. Detect magic, but Misty Step, oh hell yeah. High elf is suddenly very appealing. Very appealing. A changeable cantrip and Misty Step, that's good stuff. Wood elf, not to be outdone, you get 5 extra feet of speed, and the druid craft cantrip. Damn, that hurts. That hurts. But they get long strider, which is very good, especially if you play a lot of grid-based combat. And pass without trace, one of the strongest spells in the game. Every single elf has it, and lore-wise, that makes sense because they always describe wood elves as like fading into the forest and the forest concealing their passage, but they don't actually have those abilities in 5th edition. Now they will, so that's cool to see. Then it talks about elves of many worlds. Then we get to gnomes, the actual strongest race in 1D&D. So gnomes can't be tall, and I'm okay with that because I would honestly be pretty creeped out if there were medium-sized gnomes. So I'm just gonna say that. I know that it's a double standard, but I would actually be very creeped out by a medium-sized gnome. Let's see, and then we've got dark vision on all gnomes, and gnomish cunning. Advantage on intelligence, wisdom, and charisma saving throws. Good God. You're halfway to magic resistance. You're actually better than magic resistance because these are the saves that you always want to make. You always want to make these saves, and sometimes it's not a magical effect. And
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
holy shit. I'm
Strong.
telling you, if you're a real power gamer and you don't roll gnome, no respect. I got no respect for you. These are the strongest guys. Then we got their lineage. They only have 2 right now, and one of them has a small book to explain what it does. Forest gnomes get minor illusion and speak with aminals. They can speak with animals number of times equal to a proficiency bonus, and they get it back on a long rest. And you'll notice you never see the word short rest ever again. I am very confident that short rest in 1D&D will be switched back to the 10-minute short rest from 4th edition. There will not be a 1-hour short rest anymore. And the only thing that you'll be able to do on a short rest is spend hit dice.
I wonder what they're going to do with Warlock.
Warlock will switch to be long rest, and then they will have probably a feature that lets them burn hit dice to get back spell slots.
Probably.
Yep, that's my prediction for Warlock. Then you've got Rock Gnome, and Rock Gnome does a lot. Mending and Prestidigitation, 2 cantrips. Pretty fucking good. They're both very good cantrips. In addition, you can spend 10 minutes casting Prestidigitation on a tiny clockwork device. To create a tiny clockwork device. And it has stats. And then casting the spell does use up 10 GP, so that's good to note. When you create this device, you determine its function by choosing one of the effects from prestidigitation, and the device can now produce that effect whenever you or another creature takes a bonus action. So it's all statted out. I feel like the current Rock Gnome, they just kind of tell you could do that stuff, and you and the DM have to figure out exactly what that
Yeah.
means. Yeah. So
Pretty much you can make a device that does one thing that prestidigitation does, and it lasts for like your long rest.
yeah, the
Or 8 hours.
you can have
8
3 such
hours.
devices, and each one dismantles itself after 8 hours. You can touch one of your devices and dismantle it as an action, and then you get your materials back. So
Yep.
yeah, it's pretty fun. All right, let's go to halflings. Halflings are doing okay for themselves. They took all the core things that matter about halflings and they left them in there, in my opinion. You don't have fullings, so there's no medium sized halflings.
Full-
Yeah.
Oh my god! Really?
it took me a second to register that.
But yeah. So anyways, halflings. They got brave. Brave's a great ability. Once you get to high levels, it doesn't matter because everybody's hero feasting all the time and you're immune to fear. And if you're not, you stand next to a friend who has an ability that makes you immune to fear. But nobody plays high level, so being immune, like having that advantage against fear, is always going to be useful. Halfling nimbleness. Tell me if I'm wrong on this, but now you can move through anybody that's bigger than you. It used to just be allies. Is that correct?
No, it was any creature.
It was any creature
What?
larger than you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
PHP it was.
All right. I thought that was a little bit of a buff for these guys, but oh well. Then we've got luck. When you roll a 1 on a D20 on a D20 test, which I thought was kind of cute that they're trying to quantify what a D20 roll is, so that they
Actually,
can.
I kind of like it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy about it. It cuts down the confusion of, does this affect this? Does this affect that? Yeah. You can re-roll the die, and you must use the new rolls, so you can't, re-roll once over and over and over again. But that's already been a thing. This is very powerful. I'm going to just put it out there. It's very powerful, especially because, as you'll find out later in the document, nat ones fail on everything now. So like, gnomes and halflings are really fucking good, guys. Like, they're really good. They're officially making everyone's favorite house rule of nat 1s always fail and nat 20s always succeed. They're making that a real official rule for One D&D, or at least they're planning to. And therefore, halflings can't automatically fail unless they roll really shitty, like my halfling and Solera. Then they'll just, I don't know, kill themselves. Anyways, and they're naturally stealthy. Proficiency in stealth skill, it's pretty good. Let's see. Then we go down to orc. Talk about a glow up. We have come so far from Volo's orcs. We have finally made it, y'all. Finally made it. So orcs, you can't have small orcs, and I kind of wish you could. It'd be really cute to have
Oh my
small orcs, but
Smorks.
What? Hold on a
smorks.
second.
Oh,
Oh man, you know what?
smorks.
They have rules for if you ever want to make a half something.
Yeah.
That you can make your appearance be like whatever you want from the other thing, but you pick the stats of the other one. Can I pick the stats if I do a half orc halfling?
Yeah, of course.
Maybe I
An
pick
orcling?
the appearance.
Yeah.
Orcling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. You 100% look like fucking Doomhammer, but you are 2.5 feet tall. It's perfect. And the luckiest orc in the whole world. But I would probably take these orc stats because these are some good fucking stats,
No,
y'all.
Take orc stats and then pick appearance of a halfling.
So adrenaline rush. You can take the dash action as a bonus action. Kind of sucks for those orc rogues out there.
Yeah.
Whenever you do so, you gain temp HP equal to your proficiency bonus. You can use it straight a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all of them. Long rest. You got dark vision. Fantastic. You count as one size larger. I like this when determining your carrying capacity and all that. And then relentless endurance is still there. Notice that there's no sign of brutal critical. Critical hits are getting nerfed a big time.
Well,
Yeah.
In my opinion, I'm happy that that ability was taken out. In my opinion.
I am too, because it was causing people to build certain characters certain ways just to get that mechanical feature. And
It felt so useless 90% of the time.
Oh yeah,
Actually,
and I in the
95.
5 times that Hellebore crit in her entire life, I think I forgot brutal critical 3 of the 5 times. So yeah. I think eventually I remembered to turn on the effect in Foundry, and that's the only reason I had it on my other attacks. So I'm happy with this. I think orcs are pretty solid. A little sad that this adrenaline rush, you know, if you're a rogue, it's not as appealing, but a lot of them are like that. Like halflings get stealth, but if you want to be a full plate wearing halfling, how good is having stealth, you know? So there's still that like cultural and racial and species identity in place that is going to make a certain amount of builds just not as good as others, and that
Unless you're a
kind
dwarf.
of has that flavor. You know what I'm saying? Like you are doing this despite your predisposition. Some people want that experience. They want that story for their character. All right, then we got tieflings, which in his the 1 hour presentation, Jeremy Crawford with a straight face said that they needed more options for tieflings because Jeremy Crawford knows that money's important and that tieflings make money.
Where was all of this for Asimars, huh? Where was all of this for Asimars?
Asimars don't make money. Tieflings make money. You show someone. All right, here's how it used to be. I teach someone how to play D&D. If they are a bit too you know, toxically masculine, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna make a human or an orc. I'm gonna make a human orc. Is there a human orc? A half orc? That's what I'm gonna make because I'm the manliest man in the whole world. Everyone else is like, I'm gonna make an elf. You play Worlds of Warcraft, everyone's a fucking elf. Everyone wants to be elves. But then 4th edition had tieflings, 5th edition had tieflings. I mean, they've been around since 2nd edition. Nobody fucking cared. But when they threw the tiefling into the player's handbook, all of a sudden, everything changed. People were like, oh, this is so exotic. This is so cool. I'm a half devil. Oh, man, that's the edgiest, cool shit in the whole world. And then everybody was a tiefling. And now tiefling is just, it's just mints money. It's just a money mint. You just crank the tiefling money mint. It just spits out money. So yeah, tieflings are still here, and they're getting the most love, and that's just how it is. And if you don't like tieflings, I guess suck it. I don't know. So 3 flavors of tieflings now. Abyssal, I can't pronounce this word. Chthonic?
Yeah, chthonic.
Chthonic? Okay. And then infernal. I know that chthonic is representative of the Yugolos, and they just couldn't call them, you know, Yugolos. But yeah, as far as the Planescape becoming more central to, you know, Dungeons and Dragons. This is beautiful. This is how the Great Wheel is laid out. You have all of the abyssal and chaotic planes. You have all of the lawful evil planes, and then you have everything in between where the Yugolos like to hang out. I'm very happy to see that included. It's very thoughtful of them. It also means that you can now have lots of animal tieflings. Was tiefling not cool enough? Now you could be a furry tiefling because most of the Yugolos are animal based. That's right. So you could have sexy fox tieflings, and you could have rakshasa tieflings, and you could have bug tieflings, and
You're hurting
yeah.
my soul saying all this.
Hey
I
man,
know that.
that's how it is. All
Makes me
right.
happy.
I'm going to make myself happy, and I'm only going to run 1 D&D in Planescape out of Sigil, so everything goes and everything makes sense, and I don't have to explain anything to anybody. All right. So they get Dark Vision, and they have their Fiendish Legacy, which is similar to what the Elves have going on. They get an ability and a cantrip, and then another spell and another spell. These are, I think, a bit more balanced than the Ardlings. Abyssal, you get resistance to poison, which is fantastic for PC. You get poison spray, which is not that fantastic for a PC. Kind of balances it out. You get ray of sickness, which is kind of whatever. But you get fucking hold person.
Whole person.
What the fuck? Yeah. The chthonic, you get resistance to necrotic, which is huge for a PC, and you get chill touch, which I have been schooled. I now understand how good chill touch is. And it's a good ass cantrip. False life, nothing to, you know, turn your nose up at. but then Ray of Enfeeblement. Meh, meh. So yeah, like still pretty balanced. And then you have your classic 4th edition, 5th edition Faerun. I'm a Red Devil. This is what I got. But Firebolt, that's nice. So you get resistance to fire, which is huge for a PC. These are 3 of the best resistances in the game for player characters. Firebolt, which is an awesome cantrip, probably going to be nerfed, I'm thinking, to be more in line with the other damage dealing spells. It's probably we'll see though. We'll see how it turns out. Hellish Rebuke, fantastic, and then Darkness. So a big blow up for Tieflings, in my opinion, coming into this new edition. You might think that they needed more to it. Well, they do have Otherworldly Presence for another cantrip. They all get access to Thaumaturgy, which is a great cantrip. Not a super good cantrip, but it's still a better cantrip than, say, Druidcraft. Yeah, so it's pretty cool. I was pretty happy about that. Then we get to character backgrounds. All right, so character backgrounds. This is, again, as I said at the beginning, it is a bundle of stuff. That's all a background is. It is like, you remember Adventuring Kit versus Scholar Kit versus like Miner's Kit? This backpack's full of this bullshit and this backpack's full of that bullshit. That is what backgrounds are now. It doesn't really have any meaning on its own. It is like a collection of things for your character. It can save you time and I think the community, oh man, the D&D Beyond is going to be DM's Guild is going to be blowing up with like custom backgrounds that people are going to design that follow these rules, and they don't actually provide any mechanical bonuses, but they're just going to be very thoughtful combinations of things, which I think is kind of cool. All right. Now, this also is a tool for your power gaming selves and your power gaming players to just get unhinged with, because you can take any feat, any 2 skills, any tool, any language, and you can combine them together. I'm going to tell you right now, if you are a power gamer and you don't use your background language to take sign language, you're a moron. Because if your entire adventuring party has sign language, you're some fucking Navy SEALs now. You're moving through the dungeon, not making any noise. You're sending messages back and forth to the tavern. It's good stuff. And sign language is an official language now in 1D&D, and you don't have to have Thieves' Cant to do it. It's just out there. Yeah. Anyways,
But does that mean that almost everybody knows a common sign language now?
So I thought about it, right? I was like, first of all, I don't have a problem with quote unquote wokeness. I'm on Twitter and I enjoy being on Twitter. So I'm like totally okay with it. So like, and I also like how upset people get about wokeness, which is another thing I like about wokeness. But when I saw that, I immediately thought of Dragon Prince. Is it Dragon Prince on Netflix, where they've got like that badass NPC and she has sign language and all that?
Yep.
And I was the first time I ever saw something like that, and it really impacted me. And I was like, that's fucking cool. Like that's really fucking cool. Like that hit me hard. I was like, that I feel like an asshole that I haven't done that myself as a storyteller. Like that's good shit.
Yeah.
And so I knew when I was a kid and I played D&D, we all learned Drow sign language for the Navy SEAL reasons. Like all of our characters would start the game with Drow sign language so that we had a silent communication method. And I saw it and I thought about it. I tempered it. I tempered my power gaming instincts against the Dragon Prince. And then I took it a step further and I thought about Star Wars and Mass Effect. Right? If the game is building towards a multiverse platform so that they could better incorporate all of their properties and they could bring Magic the Gathering in, and then Magic the Gathering's bringing Lord of the Rings in, and we're bringing all these guys in. We got Planescape. So you're talking about cities where there are monsters, there are intelligent golems, there's all these people going around, and not all of them have the ability to speak like in a human voice, right? Like Wookiees can't speak because their vocal cords are different. You have to take a special background when you play Star Wars tabletop that your Wookiee has like deformed vocal cords that allow them to speak the common tongue. Droids, if they don't have like the right voice programs, they can't vocalize properly, and so on and so forth. And I was like, if you lived in such a diverse world, of course you would have an alternate form of common to try to better facilitate that. in the game. So yeah, it makes sense to me. I would still say that it's totally setting dependent, but I could see a lot of people finding the use of that. Also, a strong argument is Fantasyland is dangerous as fuck. So it kind of makes sense that people would develop a quieter way to communicate when they're going through dangerous places.
No, so my comment was about like, okay, we want to take this to do Navy SEALs, but like, and then like you're trying to do secret Navy SEAls, and then the person across there is like, oh, these persons are doing. I know what they're saying because I also like.
Well, yeah, honestly, yeah, it's still cool
I'm
though.
looking, yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna be great. Like, I'm waiting for like the group that's like, oh yeah, we're gonna power game and take all of this to do Navy SEAls, and then the DM is like, okay, yeah, you guys are doing Navy SEAL stuff in the tavern, and then that person who's standing in the corner knows what you guys are talking about because they also have it too.
Yeah,
Like, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I think that's. I don't know. I'm very excited about the inclusion of that. I think it's a very. It's like a step in the right direction. They're doing a lot of stuff. And again, their goal is to be as accessible, as welcoming as possible. This is the kind of stuff you do if that's the brand you're trying to build. So it was very, very smart design choice on their part.
Like, I'm waiting for the other languages to also have it as well.
Yeah.
So,
oh,
if sign language is a language now, can you substitute it with your verbal components?
So a lot of people immediately were like,
Oh,
fuck yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to have my mute spellcaster and they're going to make like sign language and make spells happen. I didn't read that as being an official thing. They haven't touched on the magic system. But that is going to be tricky, right? Because one of the biggest detriments to spellcasters in the 5th Age of Magic is the blind status. And so I know that they want to be welcoming, and I know that they want to be woke, and they want you to be able to play the kind of character that you want to play and represent yourself if you want to make an exact duplicate of yourself in the game. And they want you to be able to do whatever heroic things that you want to do. So I am curious how they're going to handle the magic system with the current requirements, because technically the deafen status, people don't even enforce this shit. The deafen status does have a chance to cause issues with spellcasting if it involves, I'm pretty sure I'm remembering this correctly, deafen status can cause issues with spellcasting because of the verbal components and hearing them properly or whatever. There's the blind status, so much stuff relies on being able to see the target. And then the semantic components, where you need at least one free hand to cast the spell. So I am curious how the magic system is going to be changed to be more, literally to be more accessible. I know that I spent my lunch break today finalizing these very horrible injury and diminishing returns from using fate points charts that like are hacking off body parts and disabling you and this the other thing. And I know that mechanically that's going to have impact on the game. I wonder how that kind of stuff will be handled as they continue to develop One D&D, but I don't know. All right, so how a background works is you pick one stat to increase by 2, 1 to increase by 1, or 3 to increase by 1. That sounds familiar. That's Tasha's racial stuff, but we've moved stats over to backgrounds so that we don't have to have them tied into race. Skill proficiency, I've been doing this for years. If I've ever played in one of your games, I've never taken a pre-made background. You pick 2 skills, you pick 1 tool, you pick 1 language. That's the magic math. I'm pretty sure that's the exact wording in our patch document about making your own background. It is already there.
1 free feat.
But that's what we don't have. So up here, 1 free feat. So that's something that they started with Strixhaven. They continued it into Spelljammer. And now I guess we're just supposed to live in this weird flux where like there's a handful of special feats and there's no feats for the other backgrounds. I think most groups are going to want to start
What?
Okay.
I think you muted yourself.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was answering a question. So yeah, what I recommend everybody does is if you don't want to have that disparity between old feats and new feats that's happening right now, don't treat this as playtest material. For backgrounds, for new characters, etc. Move your ability stuff to backgrounds and just use build a background and use the feats that are provided here for the backgrounds, and also allow the Strixhaven feats and the Spelljammer feats. That's my recommendation. I would not treat build a background as playtest. I would just treat it as the real deal shit for new characters moving forward. Obviously not for my Curse of Strahd game, but like if you're starting a game, I think that this is probably the best way to do it. Anyways, you also get to pick any 50 GP worth of equipment, which is, I'm pretty sure, exactly how we describe making a custom background in our document. So I saw this and I was pretty happy. I was like, that's cool. That's exactly what we're already doing. Then they give examples, and all the examples are very cool and well thought out. And again, I could see people just publishing entire supplements that are just loadouts, themed loadouts for backgrounds. And then we scroll all the way through this, all the way through, almost there. And then we get to languages. So we mentioned with languages that they added sign language. That's cool. They also rank the languages. I don't know if they did that before. And they list Thieves' Cant and Druidic. I don't know if that means they're available for everybody now.
Yeah.
Those,
If you pick criminal as your background, you get Thieves' Cant.
Yeah, so that's very interesting to me. I like it and I don't like it. I like it for this reason. In second edition, there was the supplement for ninjas, and right away they were like, ninja clans aren't made of just ninjas. My mind was blown. They're like, so here are some cool kits, which were second edition subclasses, for every type of character to also be a ninja. And then I was like, that's awesome. So you run a ninja campaign, but not everybody's a fucking ninja, but they're all ninjas. And I liked when they started opening up like thieves' tools to non-rogues, because that was like the start of you not needing to have a classic adventuring party to succeed. We don't have a rogue. That's okay. I know how to deal with traps. But what? You're the cleric. It's like, but I grew up on the mean streets. You know what I'm saying? So I could do this thing. Like, I like that. I think that's really cool. Adds a lot of depth. This takes it even further. You could have a Thieves Guild themed game. Everyone could take criminal background and have thieves tools and Thieves' Cant without having to be rogues. Because being a thief and doing crime is not a class exclusive behavior. So I think that's really cool. Also, Forgotten Realms, the Emerald Enclave, they're all fucking druids, but apparently only they're not all fucking druids, but apparently only the druids can speak Druidic within the Emerald Enclave. That doesn't make sense. You would think that everybody that's a member of their organization could speak the language in that organization. So yeah, this is actually a really cool design choice. It seems like, oh no, they're destroying the identity of these classes. But like they're not. They're like expanding the identity of the world itself. Yeah.
One thing about the language too is they kind of separate it. So now you get common regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You pick one from both. You pick one from either one of these lists for your background, and you also just get one from the standard languages.
Yep.
So you get 3. Everybody starts off with at least 3 languages.
Which is great, and I hope that, they kind of build around languages maybe having a bigger role in design, because it kind of gets hand-waved away a lot.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to these new feats. I was excited. They started level locking feats in Strixhaven. Pathfinder 2 does leveling feats so well. It's almost like they just copied the power structure of 4th edition but called it feats. It's weird. Anyways, so leveled feats are good. You don't have a first level variant human busting down the fucking front door of the goblin's hut and then dropping a great weapon master on him. Like, it just doesn't happen anymore. And that's good. It's actually really good. So here we go. These feats. Right away, you've got alert, and alert is balanced. It scales with your proficiency bonus. Everything should scale with your proficiency bonus. Shield spell should scale with your proficiency bonus. I'm sorry. I feel that that's the case. Everything should scale with your proficiency bonus. The end. And then this is nice. Initiative swap. That's
a cool thing.
awesome, right? That's
Yeah.
a badass, tactical, impactful, cool, unique ability. So taking alert, you're not just alert, you're keeping your party on guard. You know what I'm saying? That's awesome. Very, very cool. Not sure how we'd work that into Popcorn Initiative. We'd probably just give you an interrupt point if you took the alert feat.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I mean, it could still work. Like if we roll, because we roll initiative to find out who wins, and
Yeah.
maybe I don't want to waste my turn. Just waste my turn passing to you, so you could do something. I can give it
That's
to.
true. That's true.
Probably 1 point for long rest.
So then we got Crafter. Crafter gives you tool proficiency with 3 artisan tools. I don't even know if there's that many artisan tools. If you were a dwarven crafter, I guess you just have every crafting tool
You're an
in the
artificer.
game. Yeah, there you go. This was pretty spicy. Discount. Talk about a literal mechanical bonus. You get 20% discount when you buy non-magical stuff. That's cool. And then faster crafting. This makes me excited because it might mean that they're going to have an okay crafting system in 1D&D, because they actually thought at this low level, at this very beginning, they're already thinking about the crafting system. So I have hopes that there's going to be an all right crafting system. Not saying it's going to be great, but we got maybe something decent.
Tall glass of water crafting system.
Yeah, tall. Yeah, yep. So keep in mind, if they are cribbing from 4th edition had a very simple and very good crafting system. So, and it had leveled feats that unlocked magical item crafting. All of that. It was all built. It was all thought out. They own all that shit. They could just copy and paste it in here if they wanted a crafting system. All right, we got Healer. Absolutely fantastic feat. Oh my goodness, is this good? Especially if you're playing in like a low-level game where the DM's got a bunch of like horrible injuries planned for you and stuff. This is really nice. So,
It's not as strong as it was before, though.
Yeah, because they are definitely trying to use hit dice as a resource in this design. Which is a Giphy thing, a 4th edition thing, and also a thing that we do with a lot of our stuff in our games. So if you have a healer's kit, you can expend 1 use of it to and tend to a creature within 5 feet as an action. That creature can expend a hit die, and you then roll that die. They regain a number of hit points equal to that plus your proficiency bonus. And then healing rerolls is pretty nice. Whenever you roll a die to determine the number of hit points that you restore with the spell or this ability, you can reroll the die if it rolls a 1. Now, that means potions as well. If I administer the potion to you, I'm the one rolling the dice. So I get to reroll, I get to reroll. So
it says spell or this feat. So
I got Curse of Strahd on the brain. Since we're doing no magic, I would allow in Curse of Strahd this to apply to magical potions, since they really won't have any healing spells. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great low level feat. It's very flavorful.
Yeah.
Lucky, I'm gonna put it out there. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Too.
I think it fixes all the problems I had with the Lucky feat. I think it's really good. I would allow it. I would allow this instead of the Lucky feat. I would keep that Lucky banned, and I'd put this Lucky in instead. 1, it scales. So I like things that scale off a proficiency bonus. Comes back on a long rest, and you can do advantage or disadvantage. Here's something to keep in mind. This is an immediately after.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say immediately after for the disadvantage, though. It just says when a creature rolls for an attack roll. So this one is as the attack is happening, but this is the first time I've ever seen the opportunity to essentially give yourself, to use an inspiration after the fact is what's happening here. I think that's really great. I think it's a great feat, and I would definitely allow it in my games. Magic Initiate. Wow, this is a huge buff to Magic Initiate. So, Magic Initiate, first of all, it's stronger because all spells and abilities are now in 3 categories. So, holy shit, does this crack open your options here quite a bit. You get 2 cantrips and then a first level spell from that category that you can spend spell slots on. Oh, yeah. That's like really good. That is so good. Like, what a good feat now. Oh my gosh. You have like you want to play a white mage wizard, the tools are here now. You know, you pick Ardling, you pick Divine Magic Initiate, and so on and so forth, and you suddenly have all of these healing spells available to your wizard to spend your wizard spell slots on. You have a Final Fantasy White Mage now. I just love the combinations that people are going to be able to have without having to do stupid shit. Like, I want to be able to spend spell slots on shield. I don't have access to shield, so I guess I'll play Githyankai or whatever. You don't have to do that. You just take this feat, and now you have shield. You want to shield that bad, now you have it. The end. You can spend your spell slots on it. Move on with your life. Make the character that you wanted to make instead of the character you felt you had to make for your build. I just think it's really, really good. Musician. I got really excited about musician, and then I remembered that you can't get more than one inspiration point at a time, so it immediately seemed less cool.
And when I saw that, I was like, wait a second, camping?
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, musician, it's not a great feat. I'm gonna put it out there. They still have musical instruments as separate proficiencies, which is the biggest load of bullshit I've ever seen in my life. Motherfucker got smith tools. He could do anything in the world related to metal. Anything in the world related to metal. He could make a robot, or he could make a nail. But like, you need to know different instruments for every single instrument in the world. It's so stupid. Like, if they were going to have different musical instruments, they should have divided them up by like wind and percussion and I don't know, some other musical instrument type. But to have them as separate like tool proficiencies, it just doesn't make any sense. I think it's really dumb. You should just gain all musical instrument proficiencies with this feat because it's terrible. And then this finishing a short rest, that's kind of huge. If they aren't limiting short rest raw, and if you have a musician in the party, I mean, might as well keep taking those short rests, even if you're not spending hit dice, because you're gonna get a fucking inspiration point every time you take a short rest with this guy. So that's kind of cool. I definitely can see during the playtesting period this feat either just getting dropped or it's going to be radically altered.
So they made one change to inspiration, and it's farther down. You lose your inspiration on a long rest.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to use it, and the next time you take a long rest, you start off your long rest with a bunch of inspiration. Unless you're all humans, then there's no point because you get it anyways.
So let's see. We got Savage Attacker as a level 1 feat. This one's kind of fun. If you wanted to be that half-orc barbarian kicking down the goblin's front door and dropping a Great Weapon Master feat so you can do a shitload of damage, this is kind of close, right? If you take an attack action and hit the target with a weapon as part of that action, you can roll the weapon's damage twice and use either roll. Hopefully somebody,
Like advantage on damage.
Yeah, advantage on damage. But you can only use it once per turn. So if you have multiple attacks during a turn, it only applies once, right? So, use it on that first attack, and now you don't have it for the other attacks. That's my understanding of it, as written.
Mm-hmm. Can you do it? Because normally you're supposed to roll attack and then roll damage if it hits.
Yeah.
Can you choose to do this? It's only when you roll weapon damage.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so.
And then we've got Tavern Brawler. No, sorry, Skilled. Skilled is pretty simple. You get 3 skill proficiencies. The end.
I
Yeah.
noticed Savage now applies to ranged weapons. Because it's not melee weapon.
Yep, it just says weapon damage. Yeah.
Weapon damage, yeah.
Yeah, I think Savage Attacker is pretty solid, especially if you are a unlucky person. So you make your halfling, and then you take Savage Attacker or Lucky, and now you're hopefully gonna, not be punished by your terrible dice rolls. Tavern Brawler, I mean, my Scholastic character still would be, but everyone else might be okay. Tavern Brawler, I was kind of sad to see the adjustments to Tavern Brawler. Tavern Brawler is one of my favorite feats in 5th edition, and I think it's a pretty damn good feat all by itself, and I don't really think it needed anything changed, but I guess they had to lower the strength of it a little bit for first level. the enhanced unarmed strike is all right. I know that unarmed strikes are now more powerful because they can be used to do 3 things instead of just doing damage. Damage rerolls is pretty nice, but it only rerolls ones, and you only reroll the ones 1 time. And I mean, you're only doing a D4 here, so I don't know. And then shove as part of it is pretty cool because it doesn't affect your action economy. It's not saying as a bonus action, it's just as a part of the attack. But what happened to using everything as a weapon? That's no fun. Just furniture. Isn't everything furniture if you sit on it? Come on.
Well,
Like,
Yeah, I feel like they're
What
just
a-
getting rid
yeah.
of improvised weapons.
Yeah.
yeah, that's dumb.
Damage rerolls would be really good for monks, though.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah,
Okay.
I think Tavern Brawler is definitely going to be huge for monks unless they kind of radically change how monks work, which hopefully they do radically change how monks work.
Hopefully.
So tough is pretty basic, bitch. You get 2 hit points per level. It ain't bad. And that's all we got. We hop into this rules glossary, and they tell you that there's going to be arcane spells, there's going to be divine spells, there's going to be primal spells. And then artisan tools, I hope, are going to take a bigger role in the game. You basically can, I think they're going to clearly define, like Xanathar's did, what tools like which proficiencies. And it won't be like ask your DM for permission. It'll just say, if you have this tool and this proficiency, you roll these tool checks with advantage. I don't think it's going to be a DM's discretion thing. I think it's going to be clearly spelled out in the crafting system what skills and what tools are important for crafting. I don't think they're going to leave a lot of stuff up for DM interpretation anymore in 1D&D. Also, equity, all tools are now 15 gold apiece or less. So any tools that did cost more than 15 gold are now 15 gold. So that's interesting to see because there's some pretty expensive tools that you can't use as a low-level character because they cost 50 gold pieces. Creature types. I think these are the creatures that we normally have. They didn't take anybody out, did they?
I think so.
All right.
Doesn't look it.
And
But
then
they did clarify the whole like there's no rules behind the
yes,
creature type.
which is a way of saying these are keywords, which
Yeah.
is a way of saying keywords might be coming back, and I sure hope they are. The D20 test. I thought this was adorable, and it definitely feels like some corporate branding. But yeah, what is rolling a D20? It is a D20 test. This feels very 4th edition, where you had 4 different defense types. Your saving throws were your defenses. So you had your fortitude saves, your will saves, and your, what was the other one? Finesse saves. What the fuck was that last one?
Reflex.
Reflex. Thank you. And then they had your armor class. And armor class was everything related to your equipment. Finesse was everything related to your, reflex was everything related to your intelligence and dexterity. Fortitude saves were your strength and constitution, and willpower. Will was related to your wisdom and your charisma. And it was nice, and everybody just rolled attacks. It was never a saving throw. You were just trying to hit the DC all the time. There was not like I have to keep track of a DC and an attack bonus. Everything had an attack bonus, and everything was trying to hit a certain number. I wonder if we're headed back towards that. I don't know. So that I'll be honest, I used to love Nat 1s always failing and Nat 20s always succeeding. I got kind of slapped for this by Conti, and was like, you know what? We'll double. Yeah, let's do it. You know what? Sure. 1s and 20s only happen on attack rolls. We'll totally respect like the 1s and 20s not doing anything special on saving throws and skill checks. And the longer I did it, the more I appreciated it, especially once you start getting to like higher levels and things like that, where there's just going to be, if you didn't build your character a certain way, there's going to be bad guys that do shit that your character just can't deal with. They don't even have a 5% chance to deal with it. That particular like saving throw becomes like your kryptonite. And then there's a certain amount of like gameplay where you have to kind of plan around it. Now, obviously, you would never plan around a 5% chance of success. And the saving throw thing is less of an issue to me. I don't even mind if the saving throw is an auto fail and an auto success, because sure, you're in the heat of combat or whatever. What I don't like about the auto success and the auto fail on skill checks is their skills. It's incredibly disrespectful to say that a 15th level rogue with expertise would ever critically fail anything that they try to do. Now, I know that they have reliable talent to mitigate that or whatever, but like, it just doesn't make any sense for a person that skilled to have a 5% chance to just fucking fail. You know, it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I'm level 10, a level 10 rogue, 20 dexterity, expertise in thieves tools, and the check for this thing is 5, and I rolled a 1.
Yeah, like, that's just the dumbest shit in the whole world. It's the dumbest shit in the whole world. I'm sorry. I'm never going to allow this to happen in my games. Like, I will concede and I will allow auto fails and auto successes on saves, but I am still going to keep it for skills. The other thing, I was talking to my kid about this because we were talking about it before the stream. You're going to have, this is poison to D&D groups, because if you have any kind of gambling addicts in your group, they're going to view every D20 roll as a 5% chance of succeeding. So, like, the big bad Tiamat stands before you. She's ready to destroy the world. And you're like, well, I'm going to use my action to persuade her not to. And it's like, okay, well, it's a very high DC. And the guy looks at you, he's like, I know. And it's like, well, you have a -5 to your persuasion. I know. And then he's going to roll. And of course, he's going to get a fucking nat 20. And then I guess that's it. I guess this -5 persuasion scrub just convinced, Tiamat, the goddess of evil dragons, the scaled conqueror, to not conquer the world. I guess that 5%.
So there's one thing they mentioned, and I forgot where they mentioned it. They mentioned in the D20 test that to be warranted as a D20 test, the D20 test must have a target.
Yes,
no less than 5, no greater than 30. So the DC is 35, so you can't roll.
Yes, agreed. And I hope that the DMs that do allow auto successes on skill checks pay attention to this, because it is important. Yeah, because I don't think that a person with like a -5 to a skill should be able to just succeed on a 5% chance. I don't think that that's okay. It's disrespectful to the skills, and it's disrespectful for the way people build their skillful characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Will points out in chat, a 5% chance to succeed on a DC 30 is still wonky. Absolutely, it's wonky. It's the dumbest shit I've ever seen. The DM just needs to be able to say, no, you can't attempt this check. But yeah, I'm just not going to allow it. That's the first thing you'll notice. That's the first thing in this entire document that I've been like, not going to happen. So this is, in my opinion, some good stuff and some solid design here. Yeah, because that's the only thing I've run into that I'm like, not doing that. Here's the second thing. Monsters don't get critical hits anymore. Get the fuck out. Okay, so people message me about this nonstop since it came up, because they know that I like monsters that have critical hits, and I like really beefy, horrible, terrifying critical hits. What are you going to do about this? How do you feel? Here's how I feel. We're making a tall glass of water and a plain cheese pizza. We want the game to be as welcoming and as easy and as accessible as possible. Nobody who's starting Dungeons & Dragons wants to get killed by the goddamn goblin ambush on the way to Phandalin. Nobody wants to get gunned down by some fucking hobgoblins when they're playing Acquisitions Incorporated, okay? Like, critical hits are incredibly unbalancing to the game. They benefit monsters more than they benefit heroes. They are inequitable, and they are not fun. Period. The end. That's the official statement on critical hits. If I was designing a game that I wanted to attract as many people as possible, I would not have critical hits against the heroes. But
I can kind of see reasoning in this, kind of.
But you know for damn sure it's going to be the first optional rule you read in the DM's guide. The first optional rule in the DM's guide is going to be like, some groups prefer a challenge. You should consider giving critical hits to monsters. That's going to be like the first optional rule in the DM's guide.
The way this is worded, spells don't crit.
Yeah. Gosh. So, yeah. Also, right, weapons and unarmed strikes. That's right. Magic, according to these words, magic does not critically hit anymore.
Yep.
So I imagine that there will be some higher level gated feats that you can unlock that will give you the ability to crit with spells, but it is not an innate thing that you can do. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff.
Honestly, I want to like try out this, like monsters not critting, only weapons crit, only unarmed strikes crit, just to see how it feels.
I mean, it probably feels chill as fuck for the players.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I get anxiety running max critical dice crits because first of all, I don't hide my rolls.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't lie to you and say, yeah, Lex, that alligator didn't actually just crit you for 56 points of damage and instantly kill you. That would be stupid. I would be a terrible, irresponsible dungeon master if I let that happen. Nope, there it is. It happened. I am always anxious about it. I don't know why anyone plays Dungeons and Dragons with me, honestly, unless they are thrill-seeking. That might be part of the appeal, is they're like, oh, this guy's nuts. He has his dice out in the open, and if you get crit, you're gonna take extra 40 fucking points of damage. That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard of. I want to feel my heart beating in my chest every time I'm in combat, worried about that shit happening. Cool, but you know what? Not everybody likes that. Not everybody most people don't want to feel that way when they're trying to relax. For me, the good example of this is I am so busy that when I finally have time to play video games, I don't go play Dark Souls type games. I play story games or fun games, and I play on easy difficulty because I don't have enough time to do that shit more than once, and I'm just there to hear, to see the game design and the art and the story. That's why I'm there. I'm barely playing the game, but you know what? I'm still having fun. And if that's how your group wants to play D&D, and that's how a lot of groups want to play D&D, they just want to hang out and tell stories together and eat pizza. Like, that's what they want to do. So I get it. I'm not mad about it. I think it's a smart move. I think it's a great design choice for what they're trying to design. But I think it's going to be the first optional rule you read in the new Dungeon Master's Guide.
I'm wondering if they're going to do because during the video when they were explaining this, they're like, so yeah, one of the reasons why we did this is because monsters kind of have their own crit mechanic, which is supposed to be recharge abilities. Like the DM has control over that.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that this new monster manual that's coming out, almost all the monsters are going to have some type of recharge.
Well, those Mordenkainen monsters, them monsters in the multiverse, them some big dick monsters, man.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do some damage.
And then the all the boss monsters that they made for Witchlight. I don't want to give you guys too much spoilers, but all the boss monsters for Witchlight, very, very well done. For a raw monster, I was looking at a certain Jabberwocky, and I was like, this is a good monster. You can't often say that about a 5th edition raw monster, but it was a good monster. Like, I was like, damn, if this is the direction they're going with monster design, I'm excited to see what comes out of this. All right, gaming sets are now 1 gold a piece. I guess that makes sense. You got a cheap discount version. Like everything in life, you could always get an artisanal version of something, but like, why should I have to pay X amount of money for dragon chests when I could just like have whittled one together using like fucking rocks and sticks and stuff? Like, fun finds a way. Like, it's silly to say that they couldn't have gotten a discount dollar store version of their favorite game. Grappling, huge change to grappling. I don't know. I don't necessarily dislike it, but I don't know if I would introduce this into any of my games currently because it is so impactful. Grappling is so impactful to combat if your group knows what it's doing. And so this change to grappling will literally change combat for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I definitely want to try it out in like a see how it goes.
Yeah.
Because
So
it's actually pretty tanky. Like this is like
Yeah.
the tanking thing
so
now.
so you drop grapple on somebody and their speed drops to 0. They have disadvantage on any attacks that don't target the grappler. Well, that's a taunt mechanic, right?
Taunt.
Yeah. So you go over to movable. The grappler can drag or carry you, but the grappler suffers the slowed condition, new condition, pretty good. While moving, unless you are tiny or 2 or more sizes smaller. This is a little problematic because we just went over earlier this week all these new size categories that we introduced in our homebrew document, and like, I mean, apparently you could just if you're fighting the Tarrasque, I guess you could just drag them along behind you. I suppose it's limited by your strength score and your carry mechanics, so, like what you can pull and drag and all that. But yeah, it's not limited by size. So you grab a dragon by the tail, you start dragging that dragon around. Does that seem bad? Honestly, not really. It rewards high strength characters.
So they do. There is a limit because you have to use an unarmed strike to grapple somebody, and in there they show the size limit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then we got escape. While grappled, you can make a dexterity or strength saving throw against the grapple's effect at the end of each of your turns. So grappling becomes a lingering status instead of one that you can actively break free from. Ending the condition on yourself. The condition also ends if the grappler is incapacitated or if something moves you outside of the grappler's range without using your speed. So
but if you use your speed, it doesn't work. It doesn't count.
Right.
Like when we have those things like, oh, you can use your action to move up to this place, which is things like that.
And I like the clarification here, outside the grappler's range, right? Because if it's a tentacle monster, you got to get them pretty far away from the tentacle's reach. So it's good that that's clarified. Overall, I think this is going to be fine. I don't have a problem with it. I just don't know if I'm ready to start playtesting it.
Yeah.
In any of my games, because the games that I'm already running, people plan and have learned their combat strategies around the grappling that we currently have, and then we could try it in Curse of Strahd, maybe.
I mean, I'll be willing. We can ask the group, but I'll be willing to try it out.
All right, so let's
we can always switch back.
The incapacitated's kind of lame. You should be able to say two words dramatically while you're incapacitated, but that's all right. Inspiration.
The biggest thing about incapacitated though is I'm wondering if they're changing surprise to be that now.
Oh. If you are incapacitated when you roll initiative, you have disadvantage on. Okay.
What if instead of having surprise rounds?
Yeah.
Surprise is just you have disadvantage on initiative.
I guess they're gonna maybe clarify surprise rounds a little bit better, because I know that's one of the kind of abstract, obscure things that people have trouble understanding. That surprise is a status effect, and there's not actually a surprise round. That's never well clarified, for people. All right, let's see. Only one at a time is sad for inspiration. Resetting inspiration on long rest. I like that. I'm kind of tempted to use that, honestly.
To make it easier to get. That's not bad.
Yeah, I think it's a smart way to do it. And I can't believe it doesn't Giphy do that? Don't you lose inspiration on a long resting Giphy system?
Let me check.
I'm not sure.
It kind of feels like that vibes well with his design, All right, then they talk about long rest. This was nice to see. Combat does cause you to restart a long rest now.
Also, with inspiration, by default, you get it for just getting a 20 or on
oh
a
shit! Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The main way you get inspiration is by rolling a 20 when you test a d20. The DM can also award it for those who have done something particularly heroic or amusing, or brought them snacks, or done a recap. Yeah. So long rest.
And by default, you can give them out. If you're full and you gain one, you can give it out to somebody else who doesn't have one.
See, I still feel like we need to have 3 at a time, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a great change to inspiration, because now there are mechanical ways to get it, which is something that A5e and Giphy were both pushing for super hard in their design. And because there's a time limit on it, and you have so many ways to get it, you know for sure you're going to be spending it. You might as well fucking spend it. If you don't spend it, you're kind of being dumb at that point, you know? Like, just spend the inspiration because you know you're going to get more.
And honestly, you might spend it, and then because you spend it, you get another one.
Right, exactly. And this, of course, makes the musician feat even more worthless. So, it's good to know. It's good to know that they've included one terrible feat for comparison purposes.
Before, it was only at the DM's discretion to give out inspiration.
Yeah, exactly. Raw inspiration was, I think, optional. Honestly. Yeah. Okay, so then we got long rest, and I got to wrap this up because it's almost 8, and I promised my kid we'd get pizza at 7. So I'm being a terrible father. All right, so long rest does get interrupted by combat. Period. The end. Doesn't matter how long the combat is. If there is combat, you got to start the long rest over again. This makes it even more important to post watch, find safe places to rest at night, not just like rest in the middle of the fucking dungeon intersection or the middle of the forest with a big old fire. So I like that quite a bit. I wonder if part of the design will include stuff for rangers and other primal characters to maybe make setting up a safe long rest and avoiding encounters something of a thing, because that'd be kind of cool.
One thing about this too is that as long as you rest for at least an hour before it got interrupted, you still get short rest.
Yeah, which we already do, right? So.
But the one of the jerkiest things you can do is, we're taking a long rest, and like we're at 7 hours, then combat happens.
Well, that's in my games. That's RNGesus, right? Because depending on your composition and how long you're resting, if you're resting for 8 hours, I just roll a D8, and that's when the encounter happens.
That's a good idea.
You know what I'm saying? So that just tells you what hour it is. Some groups like to rest for 10 hours at a time. And so you roll a D10, and that's when the encounter happens. So yeah, it's out of your hands. Like, you're just like, hey, I'm sorry, but around hour 7, you guys get jumped. And that's a cool way to handle that. Musical instruments. I can't believe that they're all not combined into one skill. It's so dumb. Primal spells, cool. Slowed condition, very excited to see that. Slowed is incredibly convoluted with the whole 20% chance to cast a spell next round instead of this round, and every time somebody gets a slow status, we have to look up the slow spell and remember what the fuck slow does. I'll probably just swap this slowed condition out for our current slowed condition and call it a day. I think it's that good. It's simple. It just makes sense. It's basically telling you that I'm not having your speed. Everything's difficult terrain, but I'm not even saying that. It just is twice as expensive to move because you're slow.
They changed it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it's good. And you have disadvantage to dexterity saves, the end, and attacks against you have advantage. But that's it. We don't need to make it too complicated. I think it's good. Tool proficiencies. This is where they mentioned that it's going to be super easy to have advantage on your tool proficiencies because they're handing skills out like there's no tomorrow. Tremor sense, because it's such a weird, unused ability, but dwarves have it now, so they let you know what that does. Unarmed strike, huge change to unarmed strike. Unarmed strike now does 3 things. This in and of itself makes monks more interesting, because you can either do damage, you can initiate a grapple, or you can shove. I think that's really cool. And this isn't an opposed check shove, because the opposed check was hitting them. Yeah, exactly. I hit you, you go flying. That's cool. That's really cool. Very excited about these changes to unarmed strike. And then they give you the spell list in case you want to really double down and run like a first level 1 D&D session or whatever. Or I guess mostly to make those feats viable. They wanted to show you examples of where these cantrips and first level spells would go. So my takeaway is this is fantastic. I'm super excited for 1 D&D. If you do not like what you are seeing, you are probably going to spend the next 2 years getting more and more sad. Because the game that they are building is the most basic bitch Dungeons and Dragons you have ever seen. This is going to be like the Candyland of tabletop role-playing games. it is going to be so simple you could teach your grandma how to play in 15 minutes. That's the game they're trying to make here. If that is not the kind of game that you enjoy, start reading your Pathfinder 2 books now. Like, go get them, start reading them, because this is only going to get more of what it is, not less. I really feel that way. Like, the new D&D is going to be the simplest tabletop game ever made. And I think it's still going to be a good game. All right, I'm going to go get some pizza. Thank you guys for hanging out. We'll go ahead and throw this VOD up this weekend onto YouTube in case anyone wants to check it out. Thank you guys for joining me in chat. And yeah, we should definitely get, I don't know, might be kind of fun for Extra Life to run a couple of One D&D style games just as like a playtest / you know, one shot for Extra Life. We'll see how it goes.
I've never run Lost Mines, so maybe that.
There you go. You could run Lost Mines of Fandelver in 24 hours. No problem. All right. I'll see you guys later.